So hello, everyone. I am absolutely delighted to be able to welcome Natalie Turner to this session this morning. I have known Natalie for a couple of decades now and have seen her from starting Entheo in the UK back in 2006 to her move to Asia in 2010, where she's built up Entheo to what it is today. She's been working with huge corporates and universities and all kinds of different organizations. And I think I leave it to you to check out her bio online and her websites. Yes, You Can Innovate, Entheo, and so on. So just put her into Google, you'll find loads and loads of stuff. And to give her maximum time, Natalie, I think I'll stop right there and hand over to you.
Great. Well, thank you, Bettina, and welcome everybody. I hope you're enjoying the conference so far. I don't know how many of you are on this call that were dialing in to hear DJ Karl Heinz the other night at the ISPIM Connect Social, but if you are, then hello again. Obviously I was there, I'm his wife, so I was dancing away. But anyway, welcome, and let's get cracking about talking about fight, flight, or innovate, and this time that we're in now. And some of my sharings really about how to engage others to really dive into the innovation agenda. I mean, right now, I believe, and I hope you do too, that wow, we are in a time of great change, great transformation, and therefore a time for innovation. And we don't want to be fighting, we don't want to be flying away, we want to be in that space of innovation. But in order to do that, we really need to start inspiring people and to harness the diversity of the different skills, the capabilities, and the ways of thinking, or the mindsets of people's ability to spot new ideas and to innovate and to build this culture of innovation. We often talk about how do we do it? Well, we're going to touch a little bit on that today so that we can help move and shift people from that sort of fight response and flight response to really helping them to engage and to make innovation relevant to them, whatever their role, whatever their function, to really see how they can contribute their skills. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of a background to why I invented the 6 I's of innovation, which is what I'm going to dive in today from a people perspective. So this is very much focused on people, not just a process of innovating, but the people aspect and also the purpose aspect of why we're innovating and what we're actually trying to achieve. So going back a number of years, so my background has been in corporate innovation. I've been an innovation director in corporates, multinationals, and I've worked as an entrepreneur and also as a consultant in the field of innovation. But one of the roles I had prior to setting up my own business back in 2006 in London was I worked in an innovation bureau, if you like, or agency within a multinational organization. And we were responsible for helping organizations to generate new concepts or new product ideas, new propositions to take to market. And we would be using innovation models similar to this. So I expect as innovation professionals, you're all very familiar with these types of models. Nothing wrong with them, particularly for product innovation. There is sort of these stage gate approaches to being able to generate loads of ideas and then funnel it down and converge and then hopefully out pops something innovative. But it's really, when we're thinking about more the complexity around having to be able to bring people together and to be able to enable other people, then we need to be thinking about these different layers, these layers of skills, of capability, and of culture. So this is why I invented the 6 I's of innovation, and I'm going to briefly take you through it, then we'll dive in, and then we'll have a time for some questions and answers afterwards. So first of all, you can see that it's a circular model, and we've got these 6 different phases of the innovation journey. And whilst they are like a stage, yes, we know the ideas travel. They travel through these different stages. There's also the profiles of different people from the skills perspective that carry ideas through these different stages. So we've got identify and ignite and investigate and invest and implement and improve. And I'll go into a little bit more detail around those in a moment. And then at the center of the model, we have purpose. And purpose is linked by two little triangles. And one of these represents culture and the other one represents process. Now, whilst it might sound like a linear model in a circle, it's actually not. So imagine a giant mat on the floor. You would be, you know, if you're standing on it, you'll be engaging around where your ideas are. So maybe you've identified an opportunity and you've ignited an idea, hopefully for an opportunity or a need. And maybe you go off to investigate, you realize the idea needs improvement. You walk over up through purpose to improve. Or maybe you realize the opportunity that you were actually working on is no longer the right opportunity and you need to go back to identify. So it's an iterative model. It's a model that maps how ideas might flow. And at the center, we have purpose, and purpose is all about, you know, why do we innovate? Why do we innovate in the first place? So a couple of years ago, I wrote a book called Yes, You Can Innovate to codify the model and to sort of democratize what it means to be innovative in terms of the people aspect, you know, bringing people on board. And I interviewed these 6 different people. They're real people, so they're not caricatures or they're not celebrities. You know, these are ordinary people doing work. So there's Ricky, who represents identify, and Marco, who represents ignite, and Jackie represents investigate phase. Thomas represents the invest phase, and then Christine represents implement, and Rose represents improve. And they work in pharma and IT and research and media and banking. So, you know, different types of industries. Okay, let's dive into these. And as I'm going through them, think about firstly yourself, you know, what type of, you know, innovation profile do you have? But also think about the people that you need to inspire and to engage and to communicate with. So let's start with identify. So identify is blue. It's the color blue, and it's all about the big expansiveness of thinking. And, you know, if you think of blue sky, blue ocean strategy, blue sea, it's this whole aspect of expansion. And here we've got the mindset of curiosity. You know, that I've created mindsets to go with each of the phases of innovation. So we've got this swirling, dynamic nature of mind, and it's going out and it's looking for opportunity. So the profile of the identifier is to provide vision, direction, and a sense of new possibility. And also they bring in this curiosity. So think about yourself. Are you an identifier? Or maybe you're working with identifiers, but right now, wow, we need identifiers because there's so much opportunity for innovation and transformation right now that we need to be scanning and sense making around us so that we can actually work and bring new ideas and to these opportunities that are formed. So let's think about how we engage these identifiers, particularly as we're working virtually with them and we're collaborating and trying to get things done. You know, give identifiers time to spot emerging trends. So these are often, you know, great scouts in organizations, or trend spotters or tech scanners, whatever. They normally are looking out, and they like to look out. And they're orientated towards the future. So stimulate their imagination with grand visions and plans. Don't involve them in too much work that it is very much focused on maintaining the sort of current status quo or current processes, or limit their work to the ordinary. Identifiers tend to spark when they're open, when their minds are open to possibility. So if you're an identifier, you'll resonate with that. Or if you're working with those that are, then you want to help stimulate that and create the environment for this skill to live. Then we've got ignite. So ignite is red. It's that very sparky color, if you think of a match lighting. And the mindset associated with ignite is creativity. So here you can see the swirls swirling around together. And the role really of the igniter is to provide novelty and freshness and energy for new ideas and a sense of possibility. And they bring in this mindset of creativity. So encourage them to talk about lots of different ideas and you know, in terms of the communication, build on their ideas, you know, talk about possibility, because this is what really helps to bring people in who are good at ignite. Don't be dismissive of their ideas or say they can't work. You know, this is where the building tech, you know, it's not, oh, you can do that, but, or don't do that, you know, because of this, or we tried that last year. It's got to be this sort of more sort of upbeat building type of communication. And don't ask them to fulfill routine work. There's little variety because it bores igniters. They thrive in novelty. They thrive with change. They thrive with lots of new things going on. So actually igniters right now probably are thriving, you know, because they're thinking, wow, there's so much to learn. There's so many new things to do. Then we've got the investigate profile. So if you're wanting to inspire and lead and think about how to engage investigators, they've got a cooler energy, the investigator. They've got a profile, so it's more of a teal blue. It's more of a turquoise, if you like. And the mindset here is critical thinking. So critical thinking, here you can see the swirls aren't swirling so much. They're sort of cutting through. They're trying to sort of get to the root cause of, to understand, to get underneath, to test, to prototype, to research, to validate an idea with this very more critical mindset. So their role is to provide an analytical thinking and objectivity, and they have this ability to be able to ask really good questions. And you need investigators on your team. And if you are one, then you probably know it. You have a resonance to this. And if you're working to inspire investigators, then be thinking about how you can engage them. Encourage them to test, encourage them to research, to step back from things, to get out and about talking to people, whether it's customers or stakeholders, and present your ideas in a systematic way. Don't jump in too much if you haven't found out why you're actually working on what you're working on or where the need is, because they'll want that logic. And don't be overly attached to your ideas if you're the one that's generated or ignited the idea in the first place. Try to have distance from it, because otherwise you can overwhelm the investigator with too much energy, too much enthusiasm. They're like, hey, hold on a minute, let's stand back from this. Then we have invest. So invest is the color green. Think of go, think of green light. You know, it's that time to say, right, actually, we're going to have to step in and to make a decision, to back an idea. And this needs the mindset of courage. And here you can see the swirl is starting to move in on itself. And so it's this courageous mindset. It's sort of saying, right, let's do it. No more sort of going here and going there and going everywhere. Let's be courageous. Let's make the decision. And the investor's profile is pragmatic. They tend to provide pragmatism, decision-making, influence, and they bring this mindset of courage. Oftentimes, the invest phase can be where ideas die. We can be dancing all we like around identify and ignite and even investigate. But if we don't get everything together, resources, time, money, whatever it might be, to make an idea work and have courage to really step in, then we're not able to allow this you know, the idea to move into becoming an innovation and not just an idea. So if you're communicating, inspiring and leading people that are investors or working with them, then be down to earth, be pragmatic, be realistic about your goals and also your assumptions, and demonstrate how your idea fulfills a customer or a market need. Don't overinflate assumptions, because the first thing they're going to do is they're going to knock through all your assumptions and try to understand really what's real here. Don't have vague propositions that aren't really well tested with potential customers or stakeholders or for whoever you're innovating. So this is where you really need to do that work beforehand to really think it through. Then we've got implement. So implement, purple, the hardest color to make historically, the hard work of innovation. And it's been interesting in writing the book and working with implementers when I've seen them light up and say, wow, I never really thought I was an innovator. I just thought the igniters were the innovators. But actually the implementers are the ones that actually make things work. They're the people that drive an idea out into the world. And they have this committed mindset. This mindset that where the swirls go in and they actually say, right, we're going to work at this. We're going to work on it together and we're going to make it happen. So what is their role? Their role is to provide management, to provide focus, to provide discipline. And their mindset is a committed mindset. It's very much that sense of being able to be committed, to see something through. So how do we engage our implementers in our teams, and how do we inspire them, and how do we communicate with them? Action orientation. You know, implementers tend to be people that are wanting to focus on results, to see things through. So stick to your deadlines, stick to the plans, obviously to be agile within your planning, but you know, have that sense of forward momentum into action. And have a realistic plan and communicate when things are going to change or if you're going to have to deviate from circumstances. Then we've got improve. So this is the last of the profiles of the 6 I's, and it's orange and has a clever mindset. And here we've designed the swirls to be going out again. It's like we've got to go out. We've got to start looking to see how we can improve our ideas and how we can optimize them, leverage them, maybe use them somewhere else where we can learn from success and we can learn from failures. So the innovation role here really is to provide fresh perspectives, to bring in new thinking again, to optimize and to learn. There are so many ideas that we have that never go anywhere because we're not even looking at how we can actually improve them. So there's a lot of, you know, for want of a better term, low-hanging fruit here that we could look at and we could actually push out to become innovative. And to have that mindset of being clever. So when we're engaging and talking with improvers and helping to lead or manage them in our teams, talk about improvement, talk about learning and optimization, involve them in getting feedback. They tend to be very good at getting people to contribute ideas to what already exists. And don't forget to review or assess or see new possibilities in what you already have. You know, a lot of the time when I'm working, I realize people jump this phase altogether. You know, they're jumping into the next idea, particularly when you're working with igniters. It's very much, you know, like, well, let's get on to the next idea. But this phase can be very rich in new ideas coming out of what already exists. So don't rush necessarily into the next thing without thinking about what you already have. So these are the 6 I's with the 6 C's, if you like. So we have identify with curiosity, we have ignite with creativity, we have investigate with critical thinking, invest with being courageous, implement with being committed, and improve with being clever. And these are the overall different types of profile and perspective when we think of innovating from a people perspective. So what I'd love to hear actually, as we come to an end of this, and we'll take some questions and have some discussion, is have a think, first of all, have a think about yourself. If you play in a team, if you work in a team, which I do you feel most drawn to in terms of your skill set? And, you know, think about your team members, your teammates, particularly if we're all working virtually now at the moment, collaboratively with them. How can you encourage them to really step into innovating more and harnessing their diverse skills? So here we can see the 6. This is the logo. And you can see it's dynamic, it's energetic. Innovating is hard work, you know, lots of dead ends, lots of questioning, lots of testing, lots of experimentation. but it's also can be immensely rewarding when we've seen our new ideas come into the world. But we've got to be harnessing diversity, harnessing different perspectives, and see that the color blue, the identify blue, is on the outside. It's always looking out, always scanning, always searching for what might be a new possibility. And now more than ever, as innovation professionals, we want to anchor and to root what we're doing in purpose. You know, purpose with sustainability at its core, purpose for making sure that what we do actually is going to have a positive impact on people and on our planet that we're all very, very dependent on. So this is a time of great change and a time for us to be really sort of thinking about how we harness our different strengths. So just in conclusion, I'm just going to show you so you can think about your own profiles. So this is actually my profile on the 6 I's. So I've developed an innovation tool that sits behind it, an assessment tool. So you can see here, I consider myself, this is self-assessment, to be good at identifying, igniting, and then tend to jump into implementation. So I really need to work well with investigators. And so this is all about understanding yourself and building your own team dynamic, understanding what's important, you know, looking at what the spread of your team dynamic looks like so you know who to go to, play to your own strengths, but never at the expense of what an idea needs. Look at your overall team strengths and see where your blind spots are going to be, but also where you can really play and where you can magnetize in terms of bringing these new ideas that we also desperately need, really good, strong, purposeful innovation. So we don't want to be fighting. We certainly don't want to be flying away. We need to be in that space of innovation. We need to be helping to harness diversity and include people in and democratize really this wonderful field that we're all professionals in to really step into greater leadership to help and enable people to innovate more effectively. And I'd love to keep in touch with you. I don't know who's watching or who's involved, but it would be great. Please, you know, connect with me on LinkedIn or email me. I hope this has been useful to you. And Bettina, I believe let's open for questions and also let's see what people think. How many identifiers in the room or igniters in our virtual room? Are there, or investigators? There might be a lot, so if there's a lot of...
Actually, I think, Natalie, thank you so much. You know how much I love this, I love your model and how important it is right now, generally in the context of innovation, but I think now it's even more important than ever because of all the disruptive solutions that we need. But there are some questions have come in. Peter, I apologize if I just use your first name because your last name I would struggle with. So a question from Peter. Hi, Natalie, is your model an empirically, scientifically tested model or is it based on your own experience and observations, interviews?
Okay, thank you, Peter, for your question. Yes, it is a reliable instrument. It's gone through testing. Basically, I started it off in terms of developing qualitative insights into developing it from my practice. I come from a practitioner background rather than, this hasn't come out of a PhD or academic thesis. But it has been researched and validated with clients. And then what we did was we collected enough data for then it to go to be statistically validated by someone who's a specialist and an investigator to actually make sure that there was correlation between the different skills that we're measuring. It is quite a simple questionnaire. It's only 36 questions. So it's 6 questions per eye. And I built in different concepts around it. So one is about the individual's sense of what they think they're good at. And then the other 3 are to do with leadership, culture building, and open innovation and collaboration. So all of them are highly correlated statistically to the cluster, to the phase of innovation. And so we built up a whole research base that now sits behind it. But it started initially as just, wow, I've got to create a model. I've got to create a different way for people to engage with this very dynamic way of innovating when it comes from the people perspective, not just the process of innovation. And not just about product innovation, but what, experience innovation, process innovation, systems innovation, whatever it might be, to make it relevant to people in their jobs, and not just the new product development department or the research and development department. Hopefully that answers a little bit, but happy to share more offline with you.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Another question from Ole. I'm attempting to pronounce the surname, Tangsgaard. I think it's hopefully not too bad. Do you see any pattern in where corporates most often fail to fulfill their innovation agendas?
That's a big question too. Yes, I do. It's very interesting. Where I see most death of innovation initiatives in organizations is at the invest stage. Sometimes, there'll be a whole sort of flurry of excitement about trying to stimulate the culture of innovation, shall we say, which most organizations still think is Ignite. But as we see, we need a lot more than just lots of good ideas. And I'm talking to the converted here, you're all in innovation. But we know innovation needs management, and it also needs very good leadership behind it. So where I find a lot of things fail is just a complete misconception of what innovation as a discipline, just like marketing as a discipline. You can innovate in the marketing function or the sales function, but innovation also needs to be managed depending on what it is that we're working on and the types of innovation that we're working on, whether it's more sort of Horizon 3 radical type stuff or incremental innovating in the day job. I think it's even getting companies to understand the scope and breadth of what does it mean to be innovative, and helping them to understand that you're going to need certain processes to support that journey, and not to just stimulate excitement in people to say, oh, let's all come up with some ideas, if you're not actually going to manage that through to create value and to measure or not whether it did create value or did it actually bring any positive purpose. So there, oftentimes the invest stage is the death of where ideas die. I often call it the graveyard of ideas. It's very sad, but it's very true. And that is often one of the big challenges. And just having that debate with leaders to say, okay, you want to be more innovative, you want to drive innovation, you want to make it central to your DNA. Do you really know what that means? How are you going to start to do that? So to unpack this and help them have that conversation alone is a great starting point to stimulate them getting to think more about how to make sure things don't get stuck in terms of the journey.
But we've got 1 minute left, Natalie. I'm so sorry. There are more questions, and but I'd just like to delve into one from Lisa Pace, which because I think is quite an important one. And she asked you have fulfilled so many different roles as a founder, director, innovator, etc. You seem to embody all of the 6 I's. Is this an exception to the rule? Thus, should organizations seek to secure all of the 6 I's internally?
That's a good question too. Well, first of all,
very short answer.
Yeah,
because we get cut off.
Okay. Well, you saw my profile. Everybody has a little bit, but we tend to have a bit more of some of the skills than the others.
Yeah, and I think in terms of whether it is, it is very rare for one person to cover absolutely all of it. And this is why working in diversity is just so critical, and understanding the others, and therefore by understanding them to be able to work better, than absolutely wonderful. With that, we are on the dot for our allotted time. Natalie, thank you very, very much.
That was a roller coaster, Bettina.
I know, it was sort of not enough time. But as I said, if you Google Natalie's name, if you Google Yes, You Can Innovate, if you Google NCO, you find lots of stuff that's available. Yes, and thank you for putting that up again. So it's easy to find. And of course, you can probably also reach out via ISPIM if you can't find it otherwise. Thank you everyone for your participation, for your presence, and for the wonderful questions, and most of all to you, Natalie. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thanks, Bettina. Thank you everybody for coming, for attending.